everybody. Welcome to Coming and Going, a podcast designed to be a biblical guide to your parenting journey. My name is Joe Crabb, and I have the privilege and honor of being the host of this podcast, in which we truly just look to share of the mistakes that we've made, the grace that we have received, and looking to God's word and looking to others that God has placed in our midst, whether they are experts in a certain field, pastors within ministry, fellow parents, or all of the above, for an opportunity for us to learn from one another, bear with one another, and again, point back to the truth of God's word and what God has called us to as parents as we look to raise up our sons and daughters as such. And so I cannot tell you all enough how absolutely pumped and excited and honored I am to be able to talk with our guest today, Kirk Martin, the founder of Celebrate Calm and host of the Calm Parenting podcast. As we look today to kind of discuss managing conflict, even when our most challenging kids or when our kids challenge us the most. Kirk, thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do already through the Calm Parenting podcast, but as well as being a part of the show today. It's truly an honor to be talking with you today, brother.
Joe, I'm super excited to be here, and I love your story, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Will you tell us a little bit? Let's start on the personal note. Love for you just to tell us a little bit about your family, and then we'll dive in a little bit to Celebrate Calm.
So, married 35 years. We have a grown son,
Awesome.
Casey, that everybody that listens to us knows because everything we do is because that young man came out of my wife's womb with boxing gloves on, right? And just ready to take on the world. And I thought my dad was career military. So I thought, well, I'll just show him fear and intimidation, my wear the highway approach. And it just backfired. It didn't work, which led to me changing myself and eventually just kind of throwing ourselves into working with these more strong-willed, awesome kids.
Yeah, and so that sounds like that is the birth of Celebrate Calm. Tell us a little bit more about how it came to be, and how you are currently looking to make an impact in the lives of parents and kids through the efforts of Celebrate Calm.
So it started with Casey and me trying to change him and crying out to God and saying, like, please, you need to change this kid. Like, why did you? And then, I'd walk and pray because I'm not good
Yeah.
at sitting. And I'd be like, God, you got to like, give me some wisdom. You got to change that kid. And I started hearing, that still small voice asking questions like, hey, what if I gave you this kid on purpose, right? Like what if the
Mm,
strong will is for a purpose, and by trying to change your son, you're frustrating my purposes for him? And I was like, oh, that's not good,
wow,
right? And then the
that's
final
really
question
good.
was, what if instead of trying to change your son, you're the one who needs to change? And I
There it is.
thought that one because I'm a man, right? Like I don't have anger issues, right? Like
Yeah. I'm
and
grown. I've already figured it out.
yeah, I figured it out. Kid just needs to change and listen to his father. And so that just set me off on changing myself, which impacted our marriage, our family. And then I would volunteer in Casey's school because he struggled in the classroom, which was not a shocker. And I found I was really good at working with these kids who are, the misfit kids, the kids who don't always fit in, the kids who are very different. And so I had this idea one day and I asked my wife, I said, hey, what if we just start inviting these kids into our home? And
That's awesome.
we'll teach them how to handle disappointment and frustration and social skills. And we just called it Legos camp because we didn't want to call it like, hey, here's social skills camp because you don't have any,
Yeah.
right? Like, or
That's
nobody likes
smart. That's
being with
wise.
you, but you're welcome at our, it was a beautiful thing. So we had all these Legos on the floor, and these kids were coming into a home with a
Yeah.
family instead of into a therapist's office. Although my wife is a therapist, but she's not practicing in this field. But it was cool. So these kids start showing up at our home, and it
Yeah.
catches on. And parents are like, and I was like, why are you dropping your kids off at our house? You don't even know us, right? Like
Yeah.
people were so desperate, like here, play. And so we did that. It grew. I eventually got fired from my corporate job, thankfully. And
Yeah.
so then it was like, God, what do you want me to do? And he's like, I think it's pretty clear. You've been doing this on the side. And then we
Yeah.
threw ourselves into this, and we did that for a decade of like, we had 1,500 kids in our home, kids
That's
on the
awesome.
spectrum. We had kids fly in from overseas. It was bizarre. But
Yeah.
we did that and then started speaking. And then, I started the podcast, I think 8 years ago, but I
Okay.
love doing the podcast. Like you've got a great voice for it. And you're really, no, but you're good. I can hear, you can
Thank
tell
you.
stories. Like you're a really good communicator.
Thank
And,
you.
so mainly what we do now, we traveled for a long time and spoke in
Yeah.
schools and churches, homeschool conventions,
Yeah.
but COVID kind of, you know, cap that a little bit. So now this and Instagram of all things. What I
Yeah.
told God I will never do Instagram. And 6 months later, doing Instagram. That's
The
how
Lord has a way of breaking you.
I was like, okay, I'll do some stupid videos. And then
Yeah.
Joe, the funniest part was, and some of this is now because I'm older, I'm 59. I'm trying to impart a little bit of life wisdom, but this is such a God thing. I don't want to do the Instagram. So I do this awful video, 90-second
Yeah.
video. It's terrible. I load it up. It blows up. We go from like 13,000 followers to 900,000 on a video that I didn't even like.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it
my
just
goodness.
demonstrates like this is not the work of your hands, right?
Yeah.
This is my hand. You did not plan this. You didn't want it. And
Yeah.
then that's how it always works out better, right? Because then I can't be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I strategized and we built. And then anyway, it was awesome.
Well, I mean, you speak to the heart of what many people are drawn to when it comes to social media stuff or anything in life. It's just that, hey, this is a natural expression of something that I resonate with, and so as such, I want to share it. I want to respond to it, just like these parents are responding to wanting to drop their kid off. Some of them might be like, "Hey, I'm just dropping my kid off because they need a space." Some of them might be, "Hey, these kids are like, this is a space that I resonate with and want to be at," and I love that you spoke to what I think we speak to so much time in the within the church as well, and that is we have a former senior pastor here who used to say, "You're just doing the next obvious thing for the glory of God," and that just sounds exactly what you and your wife were stepping into in that season. We're like, let's just open up our house and let's just do the next obvious thing. Like, let's
Yeah.
just have these kids here. Let's not call it a social skills camp. Let's just create space for these kids and now your job is gone and now you have this opportunity. Now COVID hits, now you're doing it this way and everything. And what a cool thing to see, that when you just found faithful to a burden that you have. You know, you said like you love doing the podcast. I love hosting this podcast not because I love talking. My wife would argue that point, that I do love
I
talking.
think you do. You're good at it. Like I like listening to you. Yeah.
Thank you very well. I love being able to be of any help to adding value to other people's lives, and I think that's something that you resonate with as well. Of like, oh, how are we adding value to the lives of parents and to the lives of these families? And so if that means I got to show up on Instagram, I show up on Instagram. That means I got to open up my house so kids can come. I open up my house so kids can come. And so as we get ready to dive in a little bit more into the topic, I think that's so cool just to see God at work in that way. And I think a cool part is, again, being a little bit of a fan of the content you put out already, is that you do it with Casey. That what was the cause of a lot of this for you is now you guys are doing it in partnership with each other, and I think that's such a cool facet of what you guys get to do together. And I'm sure it's got to be super humbling and encouraging for you to do this work with your son as well.
Oh, it's amazing because I nearly ruined my relationship with him, and then
Mm,
we fought so hard, we both changed, and I think part of the reason we're so close now is because we did fight so much and we did kind of wrestle with these issues. And we when we used to travel, so we would travel a lot. We do like 2-week
yeah.
trips, and I would lose it occasionally, like in a car, like before an event. And so here's how awesome my son was. He'd be like, "Hey, Dad, tonight when you're talking about being calm, are you going to tell them how you lost it today at the restaurant?" And I'm like, "You little jerk." He was
Yeah.
awesome. It's just awesome. Because Joe, these strong-willed kids are like experts at pushing your buttons.
Yeah.
They they know every. like from an early age, they pick up on stuff and they're like
Yeah.
the best therapists in the world because they're like, I didn't even know I had that trigger. And now all of a sudden
Oh,
this
yeah.
3-year-old or 1.5-year-old is pushing it.
Yes. Yeah, they are. I wanna dive in. I think what you just shared there is such a great foundation for the conversation of knowing, hey, we for those who are maybe dealing in a difficult situation or just feel like their child is difficult, to hear that as you do the work, as you faithfully pursue the Lord, man, this is a great story of how you say we are so strong because we used to fight. Like we have this closeness with each other because of what we've allowed God to redeem, and just doing the work, and wanting to see that relationship made better. And so, let's kind of start just baseline here. I'll probably use a word that I don't know. I'm sure you hear a lot, but I'm sure you don't like it as much, and that is the word difficult. When parents say their kid is difficult, what's been your experience? Why do we as parents sometimes perceive or feel like our kid is difficult or that we have a difficult child?
I would say these are kids who uh, wake up in the morning, they have an agenda, but it's
Mhm.
not what you want them to do. These are
Okay. Yeah.
kids who picture things in their brains. They're like, "This is what I want to do." They usually will not do things the way you want it done. And so as parents, we go right to consequences. And with these kids, they literally don't care about consequences. They'll even tell you. They'll be like, "What's my
Yeah.
consequence?" And then they'll like stare at you and be like, "So you're going to do that? Okay, it's worth it to me to have some agency and independence. I'm okay." What they don't want, they don't mind losing stuff. They
Yeah.
don't want to lose their agency and independence. And I think honestly, I mean, we can joke about these things a lot of like, oh, they're so difficult. But I think it's two things. One is they're just made differently. And so they're very misunderstood.
Yep.
And the real issue, honestly, and it's no blame or guilt, it's we're the difficult ones. We're the rigid ones.
That will
I've
preach.
got I've got control issues. I want things done a certain way. And I will guarantee you the strong willed child does not want to do it your way. And here's an interesting one, Joe, that your listeners are going to come up with all the time. They often have to reject what you want first before
Mm,
they own it themselves. There's an immediate no. And they
that's
will
good.
often push back on faith. And we get scared of that. But it's a really good thing because they don't want to believe because mommy and daddy and a pastor said it. They want to wrestle with
Yeah.
God, right?
Yeah.
They're Jacob. They want to wrestle with God. And the beautiful thing is, they will challenge your beliefs. Casey, we'd be driving in the car and we'd be listening to pastors and things. And he's like, well, that doesn't sound right. And I was like, well, it's right
Mm.
because that's what I was always taught.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? He's like, there was this preacher once, he's like, God needs you to praise him. God needs you to praise him. And Casey said, why does God need me to praise him? And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? God doesn't need it. We need it. It's for
Mm.
us. Like he's not needy, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
will challenge. But the beautiful thing is, once they're done with that challenging, they own their faith. They own
Yeah.
it. It just feels like it's out of our control.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? And our anxiety is the other one is we project into the future and you look at your preschooler who can't sit still in circle time, or
Yep.
you're taking your child to children's church. This is where you're going to get it. Your child won't sit still. She's crying. He's running around the room. And you're like, how is this child ever going to be successful in life?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hard.
That is it is very hard. I think what's so good is as you hear as you're saying this too, like you talk about like a strong-willed child, and I even think about it as I was telling you before the podcast, like I don't feel like my daughter is difficult or strong-willed in that sense, but I'm like she probably is in other ways in which I'm like, oh yeah, when you talk about rejecting consequences, be like, hey, Virginia, you're going to get a consequence if you keep doing that, and then we'll talk about her consequence, and I'll be like, all right, so you're not going to be able to play with your friends today, and she'll look and be like, you know what, that's okay, I actually didn't want to play with them. I'm like,
You're exhausted.
and it just sucks the life out of you. You're like, I finally got the authority here and they're going to listen. It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I'm gonna, you know what, if you don't pick up your toys, I'm gonna box them up and take them to Goodwill. And then you look out the door and your 4-year-old's walking down the street with a bag of toys like,
Yeah.
I'll donate them. They'll like
Oh, yeah,
call
that's
your
fine.
bluff. It's awesome.
And that so that is, I think, is something that you learn. It's like, I don't feel like maybe my child is overly strong-willed at times. I think in certain times and certain seasons they can. And I fully agree. I love that picture that the people who are generally more rigid are adults. Like that's part of what the conflict is coming from, is that we are thinking it needs to be a certain way. We're desiring a certain outcome, and we want them to satisfy that need that we have. But even you just see it reflected in society. Like part of the issue that we faced over the last decade or so is it just seems like a level of closed mindedness from adults, not
Right.
of, from kids. So I think it's good for us as parents to hold that up and to say, oh, am I operating from my framework of understanding, and I'm trying to have them meet a certain level of need that they don't even have a framework of understanding to do it, because they need to, like you said, reject it, question it, own it, understand it in that way, and then move forward. So uh what words matter very much. So words matter. We'll talk this about a little bit. We talk about discipline, how to address things, how to stay calm with your kids as well. uh when using the word difficult there, share a little bit about the words that we say, how the labeling our kids and their behavior a certain way and addressing those issues, how it can lead to pretty much the opposite result of what we want. Like, I don't want my daughter to feel overtly, I want her to feel like a healthy level of shame maybe about certain things, but I don't want her to be an ashamed person. Like, I want to help her realize who she's been created to be in the image of God. And so to share a little bit about the words that we use, the things that it produces in the life of a kid, and how to be more mindful of like how we're handling those kind of, how we respond like in those
Right.
situations when our kid is being difficult, and
Yeah.
we're looking to stay calm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's stepping out of our own anxiety about the kid's future, because that's what we do. We're like, uh-oh, my child's not doing this, therefore they're going to be irresponsible. They're not going to get a good
Mm,
job. They're not going to,
yep.
and then I'm going to be a bad parent and I'm responsible to God for this. And so there's a lot of fear in there. And I want parents to know that's normal, right?
Yeah.
Like we always think, especially in the church, it's like, well, if you pray and you read the Bible together and you do that, your kids will behave. And then you go read scripture and you think, nobody behaved well, right? Like God
That
calls
will also
Moses.
preach.
I mean, God calls Moses, Moses, go lead my people. And the first thing he does is argue with God, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a good speaking voice. And God's like, I'm speaking to you from a burning bush, right? And it's all throughout there. And by the way, read the parables, because the parables are always a strong willed child, the prodigal, and then
Mhm.
the good child who ends up being the bitter one, right? Like in Luke
Yeah.
15, the prodigal
Yeah.
one who pushes is the one with the tender heart, and the well-behaved one, the Pharisees. So in the church, you really have to watch of like, well, he's such a good kid. And so
Mm.
I'll give you an example, and I hope this is okay to jump to this. But
Sure.
so with our kids, they tend to be intense. So let's say you've got a son, boy, it could be a daughter, comes home from school and they've been like, I want to build a paper airplane and fly it, because a lot of our kids like tinkering with things. So kid gets home, flies the paper airplane. It doesn't fly right. Now, most kids will be, well, I'll just try a new one. And those are like the easy kids, right? Like,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
The intense child's going to be like crumpling up the airplane. This is a stupid airplane. I'm stupid. And all good parents come in, oh, honey, that was a good airplane. Trying to
Mhm.
kind of, oh, don't be upset. That was a good airplane. And then the strong willed child's going to look at you like, duh, if it were a good airplane, it would have flown the right way. You're
It
like,
wouldn't be a
oh,
crumpled mess.
yes, now it's a crumpled mess.
Yeah.
So I want to do two things here. One is intense validation, okay, which is really important with these kids, which is, oh man, if I were you, I'd be frustrated too. All day
Yep.
long, you're waiting to make that airplane. It didn't fly the way you envisioned it. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
That kind of intense validation is really important. It's much better than, oh, honey, I think the next one you will do, that really sweet tone can be very condescending and patronizing to these kids. And so that alone is settling. And then here's another big one. So I say, oh man, if I were you, I'd be frustrated too.
Yeah.
I need to go I need to go upstairs and change. I'm going to start on laundry. I got to do something. When I get back, let's problem solve that. So I give space to kids to process all of that ick and frustration in the moment.
Yeah.
But to your point, this is what I'm getting toward is it's kind of seeing them differently. It's like the kid who's a perfectionist doing his or her schoolwork, like a math worksheet, and they're like, and they're getting upset, and you're like, oh, let me help you with that problem. And they're like, I
Yeah.
don't want your help. And inside, we're like, why are you so difficult? Why
Yeah.
won't you listen? Why won't
Yeah.
you let me help you? But
Yeah.
instead, I can twist it and say, you know what I like about you? I like that you care so much. You are
Mm,
conscientious. You want to get those answers right. And it's
that's good.
frustrating when you don't get that done.
Yeah.
So that's one way of the difference between it's kind of where like, why are you so independent? Like we preach to our kids, follow
Yeah.
God's lead, do not be a follower, be independent, listen to the voice of God. And then when they do it, we're like, no, I kind of actually like you conforming. Could you please be like all the other
Yeah. Yeah.
good
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
kids?
Could you
Because
just
this is
chill out?
embarrassing. Yeah, this is kind of embarrassing. I actually don't want you to be a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Joe, I think some of it is in the moment. I would encourage you to sit. I know that sounds silly, but in a tense situation, when you're looking at your child and you want to like come out with that immediate, like, how many times have I told you? What were
Yeah.
you thinking? Sit. There's something, everybody can sit no matter where you are.
Yeah.
It changes my point of view. It slows my world down so I can look and say, okay, am I just being triggered right now? Am I
Yeah.
tired?
Yep.
Is it because this kid, there's like, for many of us, it's like, I'm an adult. There's a right, like with Casey, it was always, Casey, there's a right way to do things and there's the wrong way. There's a right way,
Yeah.
the efficient way. And he literally every time wanted to do it the different way. And it was like,
Yep.
why? Why? And it's because he wanted to own it. He wanted to figure it out on his own. And
Mhm.
it's a great trait. It's just irritating as a parent because you
Yeah.
have to let go of your control. So when I sit down and because you're Christians, I would ask and say, God, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
How do what, that almost made me choke up a little bit. God,
Mm.
how do you see my son, my daughter in this moment?
That's good. That's really good.
Like for
That
the next day, do that. Like that would be an awesome thing. God, you and I are looking at the same child. What I'm seeing tends to be negative. I tend
yeah.
to interpret it as willful, disobedient,
Mhm.
difficult.
Yeah.
How do you see my son or daughter?
Yeah.
That would be
Eh,
cool.
I think it's and what you said helps with that. Like when you stop for a moment and you sit or you say, "Hey, I'm going to run upstairs real quick and we'll come back to this." You're giving yourself that space
Yeah.
to respond to it and bringing in that question moves you beyond an immediacy of like what am I trying to solve and more into like it's really the eternal perspective. Who have you created them to be? Who have you called me to be and created me to be as their parent as well? And it's supposed to like addressing the behavior and trying to fix it in the moment. Like what are we building towards as
Mm,
opposed to just patching up right now and be like, hey, it's all right. Like it's like, no, it's okay. Like you're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna have other things that you get frustrated with as well. Like I love that you're persistent. I love that it's a real perspective change. And I think those practical things that you just mentioned help us have that change of perspective. Because it helps us in those moments where we feel so like out of control in responding to those difficult things. I want to talk about a different perspective
yeah.
change as well, and I've loved what you have shared about this before, and that is the differences between like a discipline and a punishment. We talk about consequences. There are some, especially we talked about this before in the podcast, with the old school nature of some within the church. You get spanking as a part of some conversations for people too, but The difference between discipline, punishment, consequences, and the wisdom as to like what to how to respond to your kid when discipline is needed, maybe a consequence is needed here
Right.
in these different situations. How do you discern that? How do you approach that in a way that does change that perspective outside of that immediate, I
Right.
need to address my anxiety, I need to fix this moment.
Right.
Mm.
So I'd say when I'm disciplining, I'm asking 2 or 3 questions because discipline means to teach. If you look at the root, it's where we get disciple.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Jesus discipled by living out his life. Like most parents have more, I don't know how many words, I've never counted how many letters in the New Testament are in red that Jesus spoke, but most of us as
yeah.
parents eclipse that like in the first 6 months of the child's life, right?
Oh yeah.
So so you're discipling, you're teaching. And so am I teaching my child? Am I showing them a different way? And for me, it is, am I building a closer, more trusting relationship? Because
Mhm.
I was raised in the church under that more old school of like kind of Old Testament, like, well, we're just going to nip that in the bud.
Yeah,
And it changed outward behavior, but there really wasn't that connection, right?
yeah.
And Joe, you've seen this in our society. We've gone a little bit too, well, probably way too far the other side of like,
True.
well, let's just talk to our kids like that. They must just be dysregulated. And I'm like, they're not always dysregulated. My son would just
Yeah.
push the boundaries because that's our nature.
Yep, yep.
And so I don't want either of the extremes. And I want to go in between there and be able to say, okay, so how I'm trying to think of a specific situation where I could apply this. Oh, let me give you one for toddlers and
Okay.
younger kids.
Yeah, I think
So
that's always great. Yeah, yeah.
I like rewind and replay. So one of your kids comes in and grabs his sister's toy, and you can say, hey, if you don't put that back, you're going to lose your toys. Well, oftentimes they'll just crush their sister's toy, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, look, if I'm losing all mine, everybody's losing their stuff today,
Yeah, you're all
right?
going down with me.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to be the only one. And so then you're like, oh, that backfired. So I like the game of rewind and replay, which is, hey, and this is good language. I know you know that's not right. See, because our kids do know, right? Like that's
Yeah.
where the long lectures, we really need to talk to you about this. Your child knows what they did was wrong, which is why they lied, because they didn't
Mhm.
want the consequence. So
Yeah.
that takes some of that, Joe, I'd say taking the shame out of it and normalizing it. It's like, this is what kids do. Like,
Yeah.
like I asked a guy once because he was like, my toddler isn't showing good discipline and whatever. And I'm like, this is 3. I was like,
Yeah.
write me a job description for a toddler, which is to make messes, explore, and get into things. That's like their job. And to be impulsive. And what I want to encourage moms and dads with is when I wake up in the morning, my expectation is my child is probably going to push the limits and do things that irritate me as a
Yeah.
baseline, because that's what
Yeah.
humans have always done. And
Yeah.
so rather than be like, I can't believe that they would do that, it's like, for my son, it was like, wait, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you haven't done anything wrong yet? Like, good day for you, right?
Yeah.
Well, it takes it out of that. It gets you out of always reacting. There's a couple other things, Joe, real quickly.
Yeah.
That thing
Sure.
in scripture that I was raised with, like you have to discipline promptly. Well, that
Okay.
led a lot of dads and moms in my generation to just be reactive. Got to
Yeah.
nip
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
in the bud. It's like, you can chill a little bit. I want young moms and dads to know like every decision that you make is not going to determine your child's future. Because you
Yeah.
remember, like when you had your first child, you're like, what are we going to do here? Because
Oh, yeah.
if we let him do that, he's going to grow up and be entitled. Right. And then it's like, I don't think a couple times where you're both tired and you let your child eat a snack instead of dinner, it's not going to ruin your child. If you do that
Yeah.
every night, then you're a horrible parent, right? But I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, you're right. It's there you have to show yourself grace in those decisions for sure.
Yeah, take some of the pressure off of your child and off of yourself. So I
Yeah.
say, hey, I know you know You're not supposed to take your sister's toy. Let's do rewind and replay. Well,
Mm,
rewind is they walk backwards out of the kitchen. Why? Because it's kind of fun and it's
yeah.
physical.
Yep.
And then I can walk in and I can show them, hey, I get it. Your sister has a really cool new toy that she got that she had got. You want to play with that. So
Yeah.
I normalize some of that. Like, of course, of course you wanted to, like when kids steal stuff, it's like, well, of course you stole it because I know it's shiny and new. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
it's
You saw an
wrong.
easy way of getting it, but like, yeah,
It's what
yeah.
we all do, right? Like if I could get jacked without going to the gym every day, I would do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We
Doesn't
look
work.
for the shortcuts. Yeah.
So so I'm taking some of that heaviness out of it. I'm like, "Of course, your sister has a new toy, you wanted it, but then you went and grabbed it from her, and you know that's
Yeah,
not right.
yeah.
So, how are we gonna do that differently next time?"
That's
And
good.
then I walk into the room and I'm teaching and showing, "Sarah, can I play with your new toy?" And I'm like, "Dude, that was awesome." Fist bump.
Yeah,
You just did
yeah.
it the right way. Rather than if you take your sister's toy again, you're sitting in timeout. Well, good
Yes.
luck
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that with a strong-willed child because one, they don't sit, and you're gonna be wrestling with a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old. So
yeah.
I take a more active, and it's not being permissive. It's not saying, well, you really wanted it. It's okay to take it. I'm not going there, but I'm also not going, I can't believe that you would take your sister's toy. It's like, well, yeah, I get it. Let me show you a
Yeah,
different way. And when
yeah,
you do it well, now I'm giving you a lot of positive affirmation of like, hey, that shows me you're growing up. Like, well done. I
yeah,
saw you walk into the room, or you were playing with your sister and she hit you and you walked away and didn't react. Like,
yeah,
man, really well done. Love how
yeah.
you handled that.
Yeah, I love that you're what you do in those situations and addressing it like that is you remove the unnecessary shame from it, that you
Right.
don't go to such a harsh judgment of like, I can't believe that that is what you it's like, no, you're putting yourself in the framework of, yeah, you're a kid. You wanted that toy. You just went about it the wrong way. Like there is a respectful way. And you're not making it about you didn't perform in a way that pleased me. It's the I
Right.
want you to learn how to respond as just a person who's kind and loving and sharing and like does these things that are more principle installations as opposed to just like, well, you made me mad, so you didn't meet my standard. You're a bad kid because you didn't meet my standard. Moving forward, please meet my standard as opposed to, yeah, I want you to grow in these areas. I get why you've responded that way, but let me also teach you why it's not the right way to respond because I don't think we uh when I talked about like removing like unnecessary shame, that's what I mean. Is like I don't want to make it more harder because I don't think a kid has difficulty more times than not. Sometimes I do, but more to have a difficulty feeling some sense of shame around what they have done
Right.
when they've realized that they have done something wrong. That's really good. There's a lot of great practical things that we've talked about here, which I really appreciate because I love that mix of the principle, the heart behind something, but giving people the practical tools as to how to address it. Because I do think that gives people hope. We talked earlier as well, and sharing with the things that you learn about yourself as a parent. Like I never thought that I would be an agitated, angry person at all. Like I think that you just met me. I feel like my disposition is
Joe,
generally
you're
pretty
an
cheerful.
awesome guy. You know what I always say, Joe? Like, when I'm not around people, I'm amazing, right? And it's like how many of you like we used to live near a beach and I would go for these long walks on the beach in the morning. It was my
Yeah.
time with God, and I would sense his presence. I would walk in the door and my wife would just say something small and I'd be like, what
Mm.
kind how's she do? And I'm like, I just came from the presence of God. And
Yep.
now my son, some shoes were not lined up perfectly. And now I'm dysregulated. Why is everything over?
Just
It was like, yeah, it
sends me
happens all
off.
the time.
Well, and I mentioned how there's a guy I know who has their first kid and is saying the same thing. Like, I am not trying. Like, I didn't realize I'm angry, but man, my son just sets me off. Like, and I find myself either wanting to yell or throw him into a timeout or do whatever. So I'd love for you to share any other thoughts of how we the hope that we have in those situations. Like, where's our hope come from? What practical things that you'd give or words of encouragement you give to parents who are trying to, raise their sons and daughters, be young men, young women after God's own heart, while also like dealing with that. Like, I want to respond well, but I don't want to respond out of anger. I don't want to respond out of agitation, or I want to be able to curb that within me before it fully comes out. Cause I've shared, man, there is times in which I'm like, I know everything that's about to come out of my mouth is the absolute wrong thing to say. Joe, stop, stop, stop. And it just spews forward. I'm like, cool. It's not even 8:30 yet. This is
Yeah.
where this is where we're at. So
You know,
any
I
hope, any encouragement.
Yeah, I would encourage you. Here's a challenge I would give you. Let's start with the next 3 days, the next week. So, when that misbehavior, when that trigger happens, instead of instantly reacting to, I need to nip that in the bud, I need to discipline that,
Yeah,
sit and just ask God and say, what is it that I need to change? What are you pointing out to me? What is it?
that's good.
Because in some ways, we talk about we're raising kids, but in a way, we're being raised and changed too, because we have a lot of stuff
Yeah.
from our childhood. Like my dad was fairly abusive. And so I had to
Mm.
switch from that immediate anger, shut down the behavior, shut down any communication because I just want order and quiet in the house
Yeah.
to work on myself. If you like the big shift for me was when I did this for a year. I said, God, I am not going to focus on my son and my wife trying to change them. I simply want to change myself. And I
Yeah.
was ruthless with it in a good way. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I need to grow up? Okay, so I've got anger. This anger comes out. I've got control issues, perfectionism. Here's another, so work on that. Here's a good one to try, and it'll really challenge and stretch you as parents. The
Yeah.
next time there's misbehavior, chaos, siblings fighting, walk into a room, sit if you can, and purposefully do not fix it. Sit in the midst of it,
Yeah.
sit in the discomfort of it until it's not triggering you. And I promise you, what will happen is because you're not reacting. You know what? I buy guys all these things and you can't even play well together. You go to your room and you go to your room.
Yeah.
Instead, I sit in it. And again, you're almost adopting the pose of God in here, right? Of like, hey, I'm observing this. Because I don't think God's, we always say up there, but up there like all day long, like, I can't believe what the humans are doing, right? Like what do you, like, Jesus, what do we do here? Like, we created,
Yeah.
you died for them, and like, what are they doing? Like, that actually helps me because my dad was not a good model for God for me. And
Mm.
so I've actually grown closer to God because what I asked with my son is, God, how would you discipline and how do you discipline me? Right? Like
Yeah.
when I'm erring, I picture God now, and it's taken me 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
but God comes alongside me, right? And I love that. He comes alongside me and says, I know you're messing up. I know that that's not right thinking. I know
Yeah.
that's selfish. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So how do I change that? And he walks alongside and shows me it's not like, oh, it's okay, you're human. It's not like the
Yeah.
politician thing, right? Like
Yeah.
we're all human. But it's also not like, I can't believe. So for the next week, sit in the midst of the chaos, slow your world down. And so
Yeah.
let's say two siblings are fighting, and I can say, this is kind of a cool one, say in their living room fighting, go in and lay on the living room floor. It'll feel really dumb. But I
Yeah. Yeah.
guarantee you, those two kids will stop arguing because they're going to look and they'll be like, what's my mom, my dad doing lying on the living room floor?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You will have just stopped their arguing. And now you can teach, hey, strong willed child, because this is usually the truth, they're the provoker.
Yeah.
What I know about you is when you get bored, you will just pick on your sister because then she reacts and then I react and then
Yeah.
mom reacts. And now one person, you, are controlling the behavior of all of us simply
Yeah.
by looking at your sister.
Yeah.
Here's what else I know about you. You have a really big heart and you love money because a lot of our kids really are good entrepreneurs. It's not a bad
Yeah.
love of money. So I bet what we could do, I'm going to go get started on dinner. If you want to come in and help me, next time you're bored, I bet we could come up with 2 or 3 ways for you to earn some money in the neighborhood with some little
Mm.
jobs around the house. So
Yep.
now instead of, why do you always irritate your sister? Why
Yep.
can't you? That's the shame that you're talking about, where I would encourage Christian parents. We talk, well, I just need to change their heart. And we take things so heavy and deep sometimes of like, well, it's a heart issue. Well, everything is a heart issue, right?
Yeah.
But we make it like it's kind of like they're defective some way. And it's like, no, you get bored. And when you get bored, you pick on your sister
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stimulates your brain. That's what's going on. So, 2 options, son. You may continue to do that, but it's not going to end well for you. You're just going to lose your
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Or we could throw that energy of yours into starting a little business. And when you make money, you have a big heart. You'll give it to St. Jude to help kids with cancer, and I'll even match
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I've Can I do one more real quickly, Joe?
Yeah. Please do. This is
Okay.
great. This is
Okay.
great.
This is my son when he's a tween, full of attitude, right? And stop being uh, what is surprised that a
Oh,
teenager,
yeah.
right? I can't
Has
believe it's
attitude.
right. Like they're supposed to because they're figuring out the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And so my son comes at me with attitude. I
Yeah.
had every right to say, young man, you will not talk to your father like that. And one time I did it, my son actually said, I just did. Right? Like it was a throwdown. I'm like,
Yikes.
whoa. So so he comes at me with attitude. I step back because I believe that God is a big giver of wisdom.
Yeah.
I want to be, see, instead of like chief disciplinarian in the home, like Joe, you and I are dads. My
Yep.
job, if I'm not disciplining my child, I'm not being a dad. And to
Yeah.
us, that's oftentimes being critical and negative. I switch to, I am the giver of wisdom in my home. Casey comes at me with attitude. I step back and I say, hey, Casey, I've noticed a pattern. Every time you talk to me like that, it's usually when you're anxious, you're frustrated, or you're hungry, which, by the way, are still history triggers at age 32. So when we hike, I always have extra food. Uh,
Yeah.
he's usually good about that. And so now I can say, hey, so here's the root of it. I'm naming it for him because otherwise, hey, stop being a jerk.
Yeah.
He already knows that using attitude with your parents is wrong.
Yeah.
I've just identified the pattern. It's usually anxiety, frustration, you're hungry. So, 2 options, son. Talk to me like that. There's no driver's license, right? Your video games, your cell phone is gone. But that's kind of like a side note because he knows that. But
Yeah.
if you want to get grab some chips, I'll grab some salsa. I'll meet you out on the deck. I'll help you with whatever you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful picture of what God does with us, which is instead of go to your room and figure it out yourself and then come back to me with a good attitude, it's like,
That's good.
no, you come with me. I don't want to be separated from you just
Yeah.
because you're having a bad attitude. I want you with me. And the
Yes.
message that I began to send to my son was when your world is out of control, mine's not. You
Yeah.
come to me because that's what God says. It's
That's
like
good.
in time of need, come to me, come to the altar in time of need and call on me. And in the church, sometimes we have a very much a no, you go away until you're better behaved.
Yeah.
And I'd
Yeah.
rather be, oh no, when you're not behaving well is when you need me most. You
Yeah.
need your dad, you need your mom then, and I'm not sending you away. Come, I can take the attitude because I'm not taking it personally. and I'm a
Yeah.
grown up, because I don't think God's like always like, I'm offended, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
believe they would say that about me.
Yeah.
We get offended because we're insecure, immature humans. And I
Yeah.
think, anyway, I love that is what Casey and I, that chips and salsa, when we used to travel a lot, people would bring us chips and salsa to live
Oh.
events. Because
That's awesome.
I'm not joking, but that saved our relationship
Yeah.
because now you've got a dad and his son, instead of anger, "Go to your room, I can't handle you. Come,
Yeah.
come to the table with me." And you see Jesus doing that all the time. "Come to
Yes.
me," or "I'm coming to the, tax collector. Oh, I'm coming for dinner tonight."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like, I'm whether you want it or not, I'm there.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think what's so great too about what you're saying, like one, what you're encouraging us to model to our kids is the exact same thing we celebrate with God. That when I feel like the world has rejected me or kept me at a distance, or like I should be far away from Him because I'm unworthy, is that He draws us in close. And that in those moments, like, how are we, like you said, what is God trying to teach me in this moment? And like you said earlier, how does God see them in this moment? And it's not giving the acceptance to the poor behavior. It actually is providing you a platform to better address that behavior, to better address that issue of the heart. That sometimes it's just addressing the physical things that we see, like, hey, when you're bored, you do this, but let me honor the way that God has created you by giving you an outlet so you're not just getting bored and now expressing your heart in a bad way. Let me help you express your heart in a good way. Or, hey, something's weighing on you, and that's why you gave me attitude just now. So let me, as opposed to reject you and say, hey, until you have it all together, then you can come to me. It's like, okay, that how you responded to me just now wasn't correct. And that's how I know you don't want to respond to me like that. But just like God, and when we poorly respond to Him, I'm going to show you grace and mercy. You're going to have to learn about what you
right.
did was wrong, but we're going to talk through it. And I think it does. It rewards you the opportunity. I think it helps that, again, like that pausing, that changing of our posture. It helps us bring in that perspective of saying, I want, because really the end is still the same. You're wanting to change the attitude. You're wanting to change the action. You're wanting to change something about whatever situation you're in there at that time with your kid. But as opposed to doing the instinctive, you're a jerk, go to your room, get out of here. It's like,
Here's your
how are we changing?
consequence.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
but
How changing our posture.
here's the thing about the consequences is consequences tend to be a reaction to outward behavior, but not
Yes.
what's going on inside, right? So you take a kid, a lot of the strong-willed kids we work with, they don't fit in with their peers that well. They don't always like school. They've kind of internalized, and they're risk takers, so they're in trouble a lot. So they've internalized,
Yeah.
I'm a bad kid. Well, giving a consequence for being a bad kid, it doesn't change anything. And the idea of and by the way, consequences just don't work that well for human behavior in general. Like, we already know, like, if you smoke, you're probably going to get cancer and die, right? And if you drink too much, you're going to kill someone in a car. And yet we do it, people do it all the time. It's got to
Oh yeah.
come from within. And
Yeah.
so you just said this really well. I'll use a different word, but it is, I if you can, look at these things as an opportunity,
Yeah.
right? As an up, like, my child is melting down right now, which means their world is out of control. And I can either come in and dump more chaos on that,
Yeah.
or I can be the one who's the God figure here, right? Like, that's what ultimately draws our kids to God is, oh, when I'm at my worst, I can trust my mom or dad to help me out of that. Like, that's
Yeah.
how a lot of us found God, right? It was like, I'm at a low point, God help me.
Yep.
And then we felt that. And it's not
Yep.
like God said, well, you've got some work to do first. It was,
Yeah.
no, when you come and you're close to me, the work will happen. Because I'll
Yeah.
throw out another one for Christian parents important is humility. If I look back to the 5 most pivotal moments with our son and my relationship, I'd say humility on my part when it when I just did a podcast on this when he did it was outright refusal and defiance of me. I told him to rake the leaves. He's like, I don't have to. And I go
Mm.
through this whole story. And what ultimately brought it together was me humbling myself when I didn't have to, which
Mm.
again is modeling Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus
100%.
wasn't the one who was supposed to, like, we were the sinners. And even we mess those things up sometimes in the church, but it was like the prodigal son. Yet when his son was far off,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
father ran to him. I would encourage you,
Yeah.
if you have a strong-willed child sometime, read that story
Mm.
because you'll see there was no shaming. There was no long lecture. I can't
Yeah.
believe what you have done. You have shamed our family name. Your mother's been up. Da 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 da. It was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
running. And modern day people say, like, oh, he was soft on that son, right? Like, why didn't he make him pay? And it's like,
Yeah.
because his son had come back humbled and knew what he did was wrong. And I
Mhm.
always point out it was the good kid who had the bitter heart.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
brother, I
Yeah.
Dad, I've always done everything you said, and yet you
Yeah.
never did a feast for me. Like, really examine those things because we grow up in the church kind of like, oh, if you're good, things go well. And it's like, continue. You know, the one, but you probably helped me with this some other time, but Jacob, like Jacob was a deceiver. He
Oh,
deceived
yeah.
the patriarch. Like,
Yeah.
why does God end up honoring him?
Yeah.
And he becomes the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, Jacob did the worst stuff. And yet I think God sees something of like, you know what? Good job stealing the birthright from your brother. He was an idiot. You wanted something,
He
and then
didn't honor it. Yeah.
yeah, and then you team up with your mom and do it. Like, there's
Yeah.
something in that spirit
Yeah. Yeah.
that I think God honored,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, and well, you see it too, right there. Yeah. It's funny is when you're talking to about consequences, and I would deal this with parents when I was in student ministry for years, and it's one of those weird complexities, like you said. We do these things sometimes, and yet people still smoke, or they still drink, or they still make. Is like I would talk with a parent, and they find out their kid was drinking underage, or their kid sent inappropriate pictures, or they were vaping, or whatever. And they're like, don't they understand the trouble they could get in with the law? I'm like, I wish I could tell you they do, and that would hold a certain weight. But I've rarely met a teenager who's like, that's a sound argument. I should think about the legal ramifications of said
exactly.
decision and perhaps stop. I'm like, they know it, they hear it, they've been in classes about it, all this stuff, but it doesn't change anything. And it's such a weird anomaly of life, but it's like
Yeah.
not gonna stop him. Not gonna
Well,
stop him.
if I can that's like, so with that, let me do the porn thing because it's a reality of,
Yeah.
yeah, of course you should be shocked and dismayed. But fortunately, our son is older. He didn't have quite the
Access.
temptations and access. He had some, but he was older. But like if I've got a 14 or 15-year-old boy, just say, who's it's like, well, of course you would be interested in that. Like, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not excusing it saying, okay, so I'm gonna buy you a subscription, right? That's not what I'm saying. But I want to, instead of just being like, I can't believe that you would look at that, it's like, you're a 15-year-old boy with hormones rushing through you. And for hundreds or maybe thousands of years, people got married at 16, right? Like,
Yeah.
have a little mercy. Like, my mother-in-law was always like, I don't know why your generation can't wait. My son was like, how old? Well, I had my first baby after marriage at 16. And I was like, I hadn't kissed a girl at 16, grandma. Like, come on. Like,
They're not even looking at me. Yeah.
well, so here's quickly the process, which is, one, don't, if you have a child who did that, don't do two parents against one, right? We're
Yeah.
going to sit you down because what's the child supposed to say? Mom, Dad, I've got a lot of hormones, and looking at pictures of naked girls is actually kind of pretty fascinating to me. You get right, like that's reality. So dad
Yeah,
might
yeah,
pull him aside and say, son, totally get why you'd be drawn to that. I know you know the downsides, but I'll also share some with you. What's
Yeah.
really under there? Like the vaping, is that because you're anxious, you don't fit in? Is it the
Yep.
curiosity? I
There's
want to
always
get to
something
the
else there.
I want to get to the root of it rather than just like don't look at that anymore. And
Yeah.
and if you shame the child enough, they won't open up and talk about it. So
Yeah.
there's never a sense, Joe, and you know this, of like, well, it's okay to do that.
No.
There's no sense of that. It's just
Yeah.
that I get why you would do that. I want to know what is fascinating because with a lot of boys, you know what it is? It is they are awkward and they don't have any social skills. And so I can't have a good conversation with a girl now. So I'm just going to get my sexual kind of those needs met by something impersonal online.
Yep.
Like, kind of
Yeah.
makes sense to me that you would do that. So let me give you the skills and tools to do that. And look, I bring this one up because one of my first talks with my son was, as a teenager, was your number one enemy as a man is just and a boy is going to be that
Yeah.
those hormones.
Yep.
King David, every man who's ever got tripped up in life pretty much is going to be through sexual temptation.
Yeah.
So he watched us when we traveled on the road. I said, one of the reasons I want you with me is I will not travel alone. My main
Yeah.
client is upset women,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
I will
You
not
don't wanna
talk to a woman
open the door for
alone.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So we put boundaries on this because I know I'm susceptible to that. You're a teenage boy. So what are the boundaries we're putting up so that you don't mess up your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, it's good with it too, is that when you're are willing to address, it's like you're affirming the fact, hey, this is the way that God has created you. This is part of his good design for sexuality. And yeah, I want you to be able to, I want to honor that. And I get why you have that appeal to want to look at that, or I get why you'd want have the appeal of wanting to go and drink or do something dumb in that regard, because you're trying to meet a felt need. You want to be included in with your peers, or sometimes you're just having a hard day and you're dealing with that anxiety, and that's how you're, distracting yourself or numbing the pain in this respect. But let's talk about the healthier ways to do this. Or I want you to be able to have a great relationship one day with your spouse and to enjoy the gift that God has given us in sex. And so let's talk about this, as opposed to, well, just don't look at that. It's like that's a part of the conversation.
right,
Addressing the action is a part of the conversation, but we want to see there's a healthier way to deal with the brokenness that you might experience, or there's a healthier way to find acceptance amongst your peers, or there's a healthier way to express the desires that God has given you as you look to pursue relationships. So
right.
I love, again, that perspective change towards those problems. I feel
Can
like
I
you and
throw in
me.
one thing really quickly, Joe?
Yeah, please do.
It's
Please
kind
do.
of like
Give us a final word of encouragement, because you and me could talk for the next 9 hours.
I know. I think it's kind of like Jesus at the well with the woman at the well. And it wasn't,
Yeah.
I can't believe you've had five husbands and you're sleeping with. It
Yes.
was,
Yeah.
he's asking questions. And then he uses the metaphor of like, you're bringing up water and you're searching for something. You're not going to find it there. Right.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't saying, oh, it's okay. But the woman caught in adultery, same thing of like, hey, uh, you're looking for something and you're going about it the wrong way because you've been rejected. And so he's constantly getting to the deeper need beyond the
Yeah.
outward behavior. And then that's what leads to the ultimate heart change. And I will tell you, as a parent, it's a whole lot more interesting and effective because otherwise we're kind of flailing. Hey, got that out or you lose your screens. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it never really works. And so, and you're also, Joe, I found as I got older, I was kind of embodying Jesus and
Yeah.
God the Father in this role of like, let me sit up here with some wisdom. I don't think God gets rattled a lot, right? Like he's
Mhm.
kind of seen everything. So even if I have to fake it, what we used to do that thing of like the little wristband, what would Jesus do? but then
Yeah.
we just react and yell at people,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
This is
like,
not what he would do.
this is not what he would do.
Yeah,
And I found at first it feels uncomfortable, but
yeah,
after a while, it's like I go and I sit and I watch that woman pulling up that thing, and then there's compassion. This woman caught in adultery, if you really slow it down and think what's happening, you will cry for that woman who's getting used and abused by all those men seeking intimacy.
yeah.
And then she comes in face to face with Jesus. And it was interesting, kneels or leans down and draws in the dirt, averts his eyes from her shame.
Mm.
And I would encourage you as parents, when you have tough talks with your kids, do it while you're walking, do it while you're building with Legos. That eye
Yeah,
contact thing will often cause them to shut down. And you'll see it in Jesus repeatedly of he averts, he's doing things while they're active,
yeah.
because that must have been kind of beautiful to see him. But also, if you were caught in the midst of adultery, I don't want Jesus right there as the first person I see. And yet
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he so beautifully did that. I'd encourage you, go back and read those stories slower,
Mm.
and really put yourself there. And then in your daily life, I love that idea of, I wonder what God is watching right now. Who is God seeing in my child right now?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Kirk, you're the man. This has been awesome.
No, I feel
Thank
like
you
I
so
didn't.
much.
I talk too much. That's what you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling
No,
like I
you know
didn't
what?
say the right things. It's funny.
No, we're gonna peel the curtain back real quick for the listener. Jen is our producer in here. Jen, do you feel like that was solid?
Absolutely, we're ready for part two.
So,
What is
John,
she
I because
supposed to
she
say?
said, "Absolutely, we're ready for part two." Because I feel the same way when I'm sitting here and I'm talking with people. You just get in the throes of it. I'm grateful that Jen is here and for all the work that she does for the podcast. But it's like, oh, this is good. I feel like any parent listening it, they're walking away today with thinking about how am I changing my posture when I'm in the midst of responding to a difficult situation? How am I putting myself into a posture that provides a better Christ perspective of things, in which I'm looking at the work that God is doing in the life of my kid and how he sees them, what God is doing in my life as well, and just changing up the approach in a way that's like, how am I actually helping them? Like, how am I showing steadfast love? How am I being long suffering? How am I not just parenting the moment, but parenting for years down the line? So sometimes we just fall into greatness, and that's that was it. But no, I have been highly encouraged, brother, by our conversation.
I
I can't
appreciate
thank you enough for today's conversation, and again, what you're doing with the Calm Parenting podcast and the Calm Network. Will you share for the listener how they can get connected to you, to that content, as we wrap up our time here today?
I just if you look up Calm Parenting Podcast, you'll find it. We're on Instagram reluctantly, but now I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. You know what I'm finding, Joe? I'm connecting with all these young parents, and because I'm older, they're like, you're kind of reparenting me, helping me reparent myself. And I'm
yeah.
comfortable being the old dad. But we're at Calm Parenting Podcast, and I'm very active on Instagram, so I'll answer questions. And then our website, celebratecalm.com, our son's email address is there. If you do come, just say you found us through Joe or through Joe and Jennifer or Coming and Going podcast, because then it's a little bit more personal. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for the parents too who are listening, I encourage you check out the content, check out Celebrate Calm, because one of the other cool things about it is that you have programs, you have tracks for both the parents and their kids, and that you are proactive in asking those parents to invite their kids in, which I think goes to what we talked about earlier about empowering them, having those conversations, inviting them to have those perspectives so they can see it's not just about the action, but about the heart, about the attitude. And you do a great job of helping parents and kids facilitate those conversations with each other of like, hey mom, what he said. And it's like you get to be that, like, that neutral third party. It's like, you parents may have been saying this same thing to their kids for years, and as a former youth pastor, I've been in that spot
right.
where I'm like, I'm just saying the same thing your parents said, but because someone else said it to you,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, that was really good. I want to try that approach. That's a really good perspective. And as a parent, like you say, you just take that posture of humility and be like, hey, growth is happening either way. I'll take it
Thanks,
however it
Joe.
comes back.
Joe, we
Kurt,
started as youth pastors. That was our very first. My brother was pastor of a church, and he was like, "Hey, do you want a job where you don't make any money, and you will get
we
to
get
go
lots of
second?"
pizza.
I was like, "That's it. Yeah,
That
eat
is
lots of
it. That is
pizza." That's
Well, Kirk,
awesome.
thank you again
Hey,
so
thank you.
much for the conversation. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we honor your time. We're so grateful for it. If this has been an encouragement to you at all, please reach out to us. Please share it with others. And remember that we love you, we're praying for you, and we are here for you as you are coming and going.